Electroheads, Eilis here, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the Estarli E28. I've been riding this for a good few months now, and in that time I've really been getting to know what this bike is capable of. I've ridden it through biblical rain, through nighttime rides, up hills. I've ridden this thing until it's died. So I've really got to know it, and it starts to make me think a little bit more about who this bike is actually for. This is an electric road bike. It's one of the most popular models available on the market. Obviously, a lot of people are buying road bikes because it's just a fantastic option for commuting and getting around towns and cities. I actually did a comparison video with the E28 and another fantastic road bike, the 10-way Seago 600. If you want to check out that video, then click the link right here. However, I've been spending a lot of time with this, and it's made me realise that with what it has to offer, this is a fantastic option for a first-time buyer. So if that is you, if you're interested in the E28, then stick around because I'm going to speak a little bit more about why this could be a fantastic option for you. But first, let's talk a little bit more about the spec of the Estarli E28 and what it has to offer. So first up, it's a high-strength aluminium frame with this bike, which not only means that it's rust and corrosion resistant, but it also means it's gonna stand the test of time. And when you're throwing a wad of cash, which you do with an electric bike, then you kind of want to make sure that it's going to be sticking around. So rest assured, this is going to stick around for you. And this motor is 250 watts, which is in line with UK law and regulation. Any more than that, then it is illegal on the roads. The wheels themselves are 28 inches as well, which if you are maybe a little bit of a beginner to cycling, or you haven't really experienced electric bikes and you want to make sure that you are feeling stable, especially when the motor kicks in, having a larger wheel is a really brilliant option because it means that you've got more stability and you've got more contact with the roads as well, so you can feel safe and secure. The E28 isn't too chunky in weight either. A lot of electric bikes can fall foul to the fact that with having all this extra equipment with batteries, motors and the like, it can be quite heavy. This weighs in at 16.5 kilograms, which is very manageable to carry up and down stairs. So if you're somebody that lives in a flat or you need to be storing your bike above ground level, then this is also a really great option.
Price-wise, you're looking at spending around £1,700, and that's depending on whether you go for the added front suspension, the mudguards and or Schwalbe puncture protection tyres. If you want to play around with the options or make a purchase, then I'll drop a link in the description below.
So I mentioned that I've been riding this bike in all kinds of conditions, and this bike's actually become a little bit squeaky. There is a chain that's on this bike, which means that it does need a little bit of maintenance, especially when you're riding in British weather when the heavens do open up. So I actually need to go out and get some WD-40 on this thing because I haven't got any in the house with me. So why don't we go outside? Let's go for a ride. I'll talk a little bit more about the bike. Let's get the squeak fixed. And actually, I'm gonna do a range test on the E28 as well, because that's something I haven't done yet, because we need to see what this is really capable of.
One thing you want to look out for when you're buying an electric bike is making sure that all the components are at least from a reputable or a known brand. There's nothing worse than a part breaking and then you can't source a replacement. With the E28, you've got components from Shimano, Techo, and a battery from Samsung. All big ticks here. Particularly with the battery, if you're bringing an e-ride into your home, you want to know the cells in it are reliable and safe. And Samsung are known for their reliability and good build quality. Speaking of battery, the range claim for this bike is 60 to 90 kilometers. This can differ depending on terrain and how hard the motor has to work, and also the weight of the rider. The E28 can take up to 110 kilograms of rider weight and has a one-size frame for 5'6" to 6'4" riders.
Right, so I've got my camera set up, I've got my backpack full of gear to make sure I'm sorted for the day whilst I'm doing the range test. And I'm actually gonna set myself up on Strava. Now there are obviously other apps available, but it's gonna be following my ride and counting exactly how many miles and kilometers I'm covering. And what I do really like about Strava is the fact that you can add electric bike to the recording, so it can kind of judge a little bit more about the calories burned stuff, but who cares about that? Anyway, let's get outside. So for the purpose of this range test, I am going to be sticking to level 5 assist, and let's just see how far it can take me. So the first thing I want to talk about with the E28 is actually the fact that transitioning to something like this really simple because not only does it kind of look non-electric, but it just sort of feels non-electric in the sense of the way that the power is delivered. So this electric bike has what's called a torque sensor. There are two kinds of sensors that you can get with an electric bike. There's the cadence and torque. So the cadence is a far more simple and basic mechanism, whereas a torque sensor actually measures with a precision strain gauge how much you're pushing on the pedals. So if you are pushing more, it's gonna give more power. So it feels a little bit more like what I like to call a bionic extension of yourself. It feels like this extra bit of power underneath your feet that you wouldn't have without the electric motor. There's a standard 5 levels of assist, going from 1 to 5, and 5 obviously being the most powerful. So it's really easy to navigate and understand. And with the gears themselves, tackling different terrain and also being able to change up how much resistance you have when you've got different levels of assist with the gears means that you have a much more bespoke, personalised experience. And at the moment I'm cycling on a test model that Estarli have sent me, which has a little bit of front suspension. You might have noticed that when you were having a closer look at the bike earlier. And that really does help when it comes to taking on potholes and speed bumps, just taking off the edge of having a solid frame. I think that's something they're going to introduce in time. But it's always good to have a little bit of extra suspension. It really does make the difference, especially when you're not expecting a pothole, which happens to the best of us. Oh, can you hear that squeak? It's super squeaky. I need to go get it sorted. Right, this is my turning. I'm getting close to the bike shop. Here we are. I called earlier just to see if I could get somebody to look at the my bike. It's been squeaking a little bit, and potentially it might just need some WD-40. I think I spoke to Dave. Yeah, nice. Thank you. Well, that was very interesting. So, I didn't need any WD-40. It was just the fact that I had put on the front wheel a bit squiffy, so they just sorted that out for me. So that's my bad. But I actually thought, whilst I was in there, why don't I just ask... God, London drivers. I thought, whilst I was in there, I would ask about just how quite a large retailer such as Evans take in electric bikes and how they service them and what they accept and what they don't accept. And he made some really interesting points. So they don't accept conversions, so DIY electrics, and they also don't usually accept bikes that they don't sell. And the reason for that is because they have checked out the parts themselves with the bikes that they sell, and they know that they can get parts that they need. They know exactly how the bikes work. He said that one of the guys in the workshop actually got electrocuted once by doing a DIY conversion bike. So that makes sense. But he did say, he looked at the E28 and he was like, I'll definitely work on this one because it looks like a good quality bike, or at least so it seems anyway. I was like, oh, big tip. So, looks like the E28 passes with getting a service in a place like this. So don't worry if you're worried about your electric bike not being fixed, just make sure you get a decent one. Like apparently the E28 is certified by the guy in the workshop in there, and you're golden. All right, I think it's time we get back on the road. We've got a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover. Here we go. Right, I'm gonna go find a hill now, and let's see how that plays out. Oh, I'm starting to get to some serious hills here. The bike is just eating up this incline like it is nothing. Look, I'm not even out of breath. I know that there's a really, really big hill not too far from here where we can really test this out. Yeah, here we go, nice little climb here. I'm in, gear 5, not much resistance to all my legs. The motor's really carrying me. That 40 Nm of torque is really working right now and really taking the edge off for me. I'm getting a little bit out of breath because I am also talking whilst climbing a hill, which is good. It means you're getting a bit of exercise. Right, we're coming down to a really, really steep decline right now. And I'm just going to let the wheels roll. And that's a really nice thing. Having those 28-inch wheels gives me so much stability when I'm going at a faster pace. This is saying I'm going at 30 kilometers an hour, breezing down this hill. Really easy to take corners and turns on this bike. as well, the way the handlebars are just a little bit longer and stretch out a bit more, which means you can just put a touch more weight on each handle and it will just beautifully move with your light touch. Right, so I've just taken a break because it's unseasonably warm today. So I just want to take my backpack off because it's quite heavy. It's full of gear. And I actually just want to quickly talk you through another point that I wanted to make about this bike, and that is the fact that it's just quite inconspicuous, isn't it? When you look at it, straight away you wouldn't really know, unless you know electric bikes, you wouldn't know that it is electric. It's only got a few little cables. So you've got your cables here that come out, and obviously you do have your hub motor, but the thing is, if people aren't that au fait with electric bikes, they're not going to know. So you can feel a little bit better about locking this up when you need to pop to the shops, which is a really, really important thing about usability. So you can see here, I've taken off 1 bar of charge. Woohoo! Okay, partly on the way there. But that is one little bugbear of mine, is the fact that despite the lovely integrated display, the problem is you don't actually know how much charge you've got left, and it doesn't tell you. It's just those little bars. It would be great if there was a percentage, but that's my one bugbear about the bike. But I think the integrated display is really beautiful. It's really sleek. It's just another thing that you don't need to worry about because it's waterproof as well. So everything is housed really safely and securely in there. And it gives you all that information on the display, such as your speed, the level of assist that you have as well. And of course, how much power you have, but it's a little bit more general. Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention as well, quite an obvious blaring point here, is the fact that the battery in this frame is really beautifully hidden. So if you take a look here, the battery is going to be right here, but it's just disguised perfectly so that it's just covert, people aren't going to know, and that just really adds to the fact that you can maybe pop it outside a shop, leave it, Bob's your uncle. It's not a blaring target. Overall, I'm a really big fan. I really like the minimal logo as well. It's not screaming branding at you, which I think is really nice. And I've got with me the integrated front light here, which just is really, really great. And also you get a rear light as well, which is separate, but that came with it, which is awesome. You might have noticed I've actually changed the seat myself. This is my own saddle that I've bought. This is my favorite. I bought this just on Amazon. It's a really great brand, really comfortable, and it just means that I can be as comfortable as possible wherever I'm going. Let's do a real life test. We're properly testing the range. We're properly testing the usability of this bike. It's been great on the hills. Yeah, let's see if it survives being locked up for a little bit. Okay, let's go. Let's lock this up and see what happens. The fact that there are a lot of other bikes locked up here, as you can see behind me, is obviously a good sign, something that you should look out for when you're locking up your bike. Safety, definitely in numbers. Just a classic kryptonite. Would definitely recommend going for something a little bit more expensive when you're spending nearly £1,500 on a bike. But look, it will do for now. It's a quick nip into the shops. Right, my bike's locked up. Let's go. This is the best makeup remover. It's not an advert. I also need bike cream because I'm going to be going on holiday soon and mosquitoes love me, so I need all the treatment. Okay, let's go pay for this and see how my bike's doing. Right, I'm coming out of the store. Is it there? Yes, it is! Happy days. Okay, so I was probably in there for about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, so you know. But that's kind of all you need when you're going to the shop and picking up some bits. It just means that you can get around town a lot easier, a lot faster, and also it means that you don't have to be lugging a bunch of stuff back if you've got a bigger shop. And it actually stops me from getting online deliveries where diesel vans are bringing in a big chunk of shopping. I can just nip out whenever I need and get what I need. The small things. FYI, I've only actually used that 1 bar of the battery, and I've ridden over 20 kilometers, so this might take a while to get through the battery. I mean, it's great, but I might have to split this up. We'll see, we will see. I'm gonna go for a little bit more of a ride, see where we get to, and I'm gonna talk about one more point that I wanted to make today. If you are a first-time buyer and you're maybe thinking of getting an electric bike, why this could be a really brilliant option. All right, let's go.
and it's just gone down to having 3 bars left out of 5. It's a decent little bike, this. I've been using it on the daily to get to and from work and traveling around to see mates and whatnot, but I wasn't really keeping tabs. I knew it was good because I haven't really charged it as much as some other electric bikes I've used. This is impressive. The sun is starting to get a little bit lower in the sky though, and it's moving on to sort of winter hours, so yeah, I think I might have to split this up to get a full range test. Let's do that, let's split it up. I've got loads of cycling to do tomorrow, so I'll finish it off then.
The next day.
Finally happened! My battery is dead. I've ridden this thing literally to its last legs. For a while it actually kind of said it died and stopped giving me assist, and then like a phoenix rising from the ashes, it actually decided to give me a little bit of power. It's actually just done that again, even though I stopped and it completely died. So here you can see it's giving me a little bit of extra battery again. Don't run your battery until it dies. I've only done this literally for a range test. It's not good for your battery. The motor and the system and the controller gets a little bit confused, especially as it starts to die out. It's like, do I help you? Can I help you? Do I have a bit of extra juice? I don't know. It's a little bit heavier on the hills without the assist, I'm not gonna lie, but it's still fine, I can manage it. It's just a bit of an extra workout. Anyway, I'm gonna crunch the numbers and see exactly how far I've been able to travel on level 5 assist with this bike. Let's go.
In total, I managed to cover 47 kilometres, which equates to just over 29 miles. And that is with level 5 assist, the max assist possible. If I had a lower assist, I'd be able to get even further. And I can tell you that level 3 and 4 are where I like to hover when I'm cycling. It took me a fair few rides to whittle that down as well. So if you're like me and you cycle about 4 miles to work every day and back, this is going to cover you for the most part of the week with daily cycling before you need to juice up again. But remember, this range can differ depending on terrain, temperature, rider weight. For reference, I weigh around 65 kilograms and realistically had about 5 kilograms or more on my back at one time.
All right, so on to my last point, and that is just about longevity and trust when it comes to buying an electric bike. Spending about £1,500 or even a little bit more is a lot of money. I get it. That isn't just a casual spend. So you want to make sure when you're buying something of that caliber that it's gonna last, that you're going to be able to look after it, and professionals are going to be able to look after it too. So the thing with Estarli especially is they're a British brand, so if you're in the UK then fantastic, you know that you are going to be looked after. There are depots where you can send your bike off to, or you can go to your local bike shop like I mentioned earlier and just see if they can work on it for you. It's really, really important. And it's also just making sure that you have components that are legit. So the Tektro, Shimano, and as I mentioned earlier, the Samsung battery, it's all good stuff, which means that you know if you need to get something replaced, you can actually find the part. So many people have understandably gone for a cheaper electric bike that's been shipped over from China, and then they realise that they can't get it replaced, or they can't get it fixed, or they have to send it overseas again to get it rebuilt or repaired. You don't have to do this with Estarli, and that just takes a lot of hassle out of owning a bike. So look, if you are thinking about getting your first electric bike, I do genuinely advise getting something like this. Of course, you can spend more money and get something way more techy like the Go Cycle, which is about £4,000, and it is a fantastic bike. However, there's just a lot more involved there. There's a lot more stuff in terms of apps and technology that maybe you just don't really need if you're a first-time buyer. I think it's good to ease yourself into something super simple that is recognizable in terms of the ride itself, and it doesn't feel too much of a switch up, because that's the important thing here. You don't want to feel like you've completely migrated to a different mode of transport. You want to feel like you're on something that enhances where you're going and how you get there. Well, thank you so much for joining me on my ride today. I've had so much fun. I really wish the weather would always be like this. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do make sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Click that button right there, because it really helps with the algorithm and getting this video out to more people. And if you haven't already, please do make sure to hit subscribe, because we have fresh content coming out weekly. That's right, all on e-mobility, all on electric bikes, electric scooters, boards, cars, you name it. We have all the content, so hit subscribe. Anyway, that's enough from me. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day or night, wherever you are, and I'll speak to you soon. All right, bye!